on this computer. So we are recording for English 115, and I'm going to be talking about week 4. I do want to mention that all grading through week 3 is current and posted. So what that means is if you submitted the annotating and or on Moodle, or you did an alternative method, that grade and comment is posted. And even if you did not, grade and comment are posted. So grade would be a 0 if you did not submit, and comment would be something like no submission. Keep in mind the 0 grade can be replaced, no problem. As soon as you upload, make sure you notify me by email so I can go in, take a look, and adjust that grade according. Now, I'm current on grading. The reason it's important is I want you to be able to have access to your grades and see your grade in the class at all times. I never want you to wonder. It becomes important because you want to try as much as within your power to maintain 73.4% or higher at all times. That is the key number to be successful in this class that will prevent you from needing to take it over again or block you from taking other classes. This is a prereq or a co-req for almost every class on campus, a lot of them. And you don't want to wait till the end. It's much, much harder to bring up your grade than it is simply to just maintain. It's like when you're running a race. If you can maintain with a pack through the race, it's easier to edge forward in the end. But if you start the race from behind or you're behind everybody else, you got to run twice as fast to try and play catch up. So it's harder. Can it be done? Of course it can be done. Most students are not very successful at doing that. So this is why I always say, just as much as possible within your power, maintain a grade in the class of 73.4% or higher. Now, the other reason this becomes very important, you always want to know what your grades are, and we're coming up on the end of week 4, and one really big reason is at the end of week 4, I start submitting what I call academic warnings. The college employs an academic warning policy. Instructors are required to utilize it. However, it's instructor discretion on how they utilize it. So I'm telling you how I do it. That may not be the same as your other professors. I send academic warnings for students whose grade has fallen below 73.4%. I do not do it every week. I usually wait until the end of the 4th week because that means we've had a month of classes. We are 20% done with the course. In other words, we've got a chunk of it under our belt. And anybody who is not at 73.4% or higher, I give you an academic warning. Now, the academic warning probably comes to you via email. Heads up, don't avoid it. Don't put your head in the sand. Don't ignore it. It is a way for me to reach out to you saying, hey, something's wrong. Sometimes you know exactly what's wrong. You're not doing your work. But other times you might not know what's wrong. And what I mean by that is maybe you are turning in all your work and you're getting low scores. We want to talk about that. Let me help you. Let me give you some direct guidance of what you can be doing moving forward so that you're scoring in a way you want to score, okay? The biggest reason, I'll be honest with you, the students are not successful is they're not submitting work. Zeros kill the grade. Any number is better than a 0. I always think of it as like if something costs $1 and you don't have $1, you want $1, but you don't have $1, but you got 50 cents. Well, 50 cents is better than no money at all. It's not maybe the ideal, but think of that with your grades. Some number in the grade book is better than a 0. Any number is better than a 0 because that will help your grade, not bring it down. So that being said, I anticipate sending the academic warnings out probably Thursday or Friday this week to anybody below a 73.4. Pay attention to your grade. Make sure you're current to that point. Get stuff in. Remember, I do take late work. Even if you're missing past work, get it in. Submit it. Even if it's not 100%. Let's say worst case scenario, you never did the email etiquette. You got a 0 sitting there. Even if you do it now, it's about 50% because it's so many days late. 50% is better than 0%. It will make your grade go up at least a little bit. So keep that in mind. How do you know if you're missing work? Anything that has a 0. Anything that has a 0 grade is missing work. Not dashes. Dashes means I haven't scored them yet, or they're not assigned. But if there's a 0, that means the due date's passed, the late clock's running. And in the words of Larry the Cable Guy, do you guys even know who that is? Excellent. In the words of Larry the Cable Guy, get her done, right? Just get her done. Okay. Oh, I am recording. I was going to say, I'm supposed to be recording. I think I am. Okay, sorry. I went off a little chatty there. Week 4. We're continuing on with active reading and active learning. Remember, active reading means you are engaging with the text. It's like an active dialogue with the writer. You should never be reading without some type of writing utensil in your hand to help you actively engage. And there are different ways to engage with the text. The one we talked about last week was annotating. The one I want to talk about this week is note-taking. They are not the same thing. These are 2 different methods of active reading. Annotating is marked notably by you are writing in the text, you're marking in the text, okay? By the way, it's not highlighting. Highlighting is not annotating. Highlighting is not related to annotating in any way, shape, or form, okay? Note-taking is exactly what it sounds like. So I'm going to go through really quickly, and I'm going to just go through the assignment, and then I'm going to do lecture on note-taking. So what your assignment is I want you to complete a set of Cornell-style notes. When I say set, I mean I want to see a minimum of 5 pages. Okay, that would be a set. Can you do more than 5 pages? You betcha. Chances are when you're reading in any chapter from any textbook, you're going to need more than 5 pages. I'm simply requiring that you submit 5 pages for grading. Okay? You may do these notes on any chapter from any textbook you have this semester. It must be a current class. Once again, you don't have any textbooks for any of your classes, do it from mine. Okay? But I prefer you to use another textbook, either from biology, psychology, criminal justice, any of your classes that have a textbook. Why? Because you got to do the reading and you got to be doing the studying anyways, and note-taking is a great way to be actively engaged and process that information for something you're probably going to get tested on anyways. So the same rules apply as what were for annotating, which is you are going to need to submit pictures of it, or I have a different option for you this time. So if you look at my files that are available to you, I have a checklist. That's the first one. So the checklist, these are the things that I am looking for within your notes. Do you have all of these items contained in your notes? And I'm going to walk through and demonstrate in a second here, okay? But essentially, if you look at this and you check if you have it, let's see. In my format, do I have the title of the chapter? Do I have the page numbers on it? And is my name and date on there? Check. Do I have proper keywords? Does the left section have topics or headings? Check. Are my examples in the right side? Did I rephrase it in my own words? Check. Summary section at the bottom has at least 2 to 4 sentences that correspond with the details I have in my notes. I have to use full and complete sentences, and it has to be in my own words. Check. Number of pages are appropriate to content and level of difficulty. Check. So what does that mean? Number of pages? As a general rule, when you're doing note-taking, Cornell-style notes, you would have 2 pages of notes for every 1 page of text that you're reading from a chapter. Does that make sense? All right, so let's talk about all of these things in a second. I just want to show you the first file. Second file, this is the grading rubric. This is what I'm going to use to score it and how it's going to be scored, what I'm looking at. So on a scale of 1 to 5 for all of these areas. So those are the 5 areas on your checklist, by the way. 5 areas that I just showed you on the checklist. And then where are you going to get? 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's demonstrated on a few of your pages, all the way up to demonstrated on all the pages. To get full credit on this, you will have to demonstrate all of those things on all of the pages, okay? All right. The last thing is a template. Now, Cornell notes can be done 2 ways. Traditionally, I've always forced you need to do it by hand. Why? Because science says when you take notes by hand, it actually helps your brain process the information better. It forces you to think about the information. Most of my students like to type up their notes. Here's what science says about typing. You actually get more notes when you type them. You'll have more notes, but they're not always better notes. You put a lot more information, but you do a lot less thinking about the information. Because of COVID and a bunch of other stuff, I'm going to offer you either option. Totally up to you, wherever you're comfortable, okay? So if you choose to do it electronically, I've given you a template. The template is interactive. All you do is click Enable Editing, and then you can just start typing, and I give you some cue things for it. So in this particular one, key points. Okay, this is what if you remember, it's either your topic or you turn the headings into questions. So for me personally, when I'm doing my note taking, when I look in the chapter, any major heading, that's what I'm going to put over because those are the big ideas. And I might even phrase it like a question. So for example, if we have chapter 8 in our textbook, maybe the heading is PSR. I would phrase it, what is PSR? What does PSR represent? Something like that. Yep, exactly. And so then, okay, so for the sake of argument, let's just do this. What is PSR? What does it represent? Okay, I put more than one question, that's fine. But that's my big idea. That's my heading title. So now in that section, when I'm reading, what do I got to know? Those are my notes to myself, and that is what you put in the details section. Now, again, these are notes. You're not required to write in complete sentences. It's kind of the same stuff you were pulling out in the margins and you're annotating, except now you're going to put it. So whatever, what am I going to have? I'm going to use, personally, I like bullet points because that's the way I roll. So I'm just going to use an asterisk. So I'm going to say P equals preview. And then S equals study, read, and then I don't know why this is acting funny, but anyways, R equals review. Okay, okay, go me. So I'm writing. So maybe another item that I want. Oh, okay, so preview has 3 steps. Study read has, okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Preview has 3 steps, and then I might say something like step 1 equals, step 2 equals, whatever. I don't know why my asterisk thing isn't working, so I apologize, but you can format this however you want. Here's the trick with details. You want to leave yourself some white space. So like as I'm going back here, what do you notice? Okay, details, PSR, and then I have a blank space, a little white space, because now I'm going to go to another area about PSR. So what else did it tell me in this section? Whatever notes that you got to write, you just type them all in. And then don't be afraid to leave yourself some white space. But don't worry about doing complete sentences, capitals, periods, any of that. This is just notes to yourself. Essentially, you want to write the notes in that you would have to study from for a test. That's the whole point. So the headings are over on the left, the big ideas. And then your details that you're putting in there, that would be the information that you would need to know for a test about that topic. Does that make sense? Now, what you might want to do is, again, you might be able to fit more than one topic on a page. Depends on how much information you have. It's a little subjective. But whatever it is, I don't know what the next one might be, but we'll just say blah, 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 blah. Okay? So notice I have a new topic or a new heading, even though it's on the same page. And then, okay, what are the details I need to know about that one? Okay? And I'm going to write myself some notes about that one. But notice by separation of space, you don't need to jam things really close together. You want it easy for your eyes to identify, oh, this information goes with that one. This information goes with that one. So it's okay to leave yourself some spacing, some white spacing, okay? It's also better if you write larger than smaller. Why? Your brain processes larger print easier than it does small print. Can you read small print? Of course you can. All I'm telling you is it's just tougher for your brain to process that. That's all. Make sense so far? So you're going to write your information. The other word of caution that I want you to be aware of is you don't want too many things on the same page. Here's why. At the bottom of every page, you got to write a summary. That summary has to be a minimum of 2 to 4 complete sentences summarizing the notes that you put on that page. So that's why you're not doing sentences up above, you're just doing notes. But then down at the bottom, you got to write full sentences in your own words summarizing your notes. 2 to 4 sentences. This is why you don't want a lot of information. If you get a ton of information on there, it's very difficult to write a summary at the bottom. Does that make sense so far? Now, also on the sheet, does everybody remember what else? Well, no, you probably don't. So let me get out of this and we'll walk through this. So that's a template. It's an interactive template. If you don't want to do it electronically and you want to go old school and you're going to write them out, no problem. You're going to have to take pictures just like you did with the annotating. Take pictures and then upload them to Moodle, just like we did with the annotating. But I do absolutely understand if you want to go old school and write them out. I will warn you, it is not random note-taking. You must do Cornell-style notes. So there is a system and a format. The system is the template that I give you. So if you do it by hand, you have to have your page set up and you have to have the lines in there. I don't know if I put it on our required list or not, but I'm going to show you. Maybe. So maybe you don't want to write it on notebook paper. There are all kinds of templates you can use that you can print off and then write in by hand. But notice they all are the similar same format. On the left is questions, topics. On the right, your notes for details. At the bottom, summary, full sentences in your own words. You can use any of these templates. I'm totally fine with whichever one you choose, as long as you have all the elements contained. So if you take a look at this one here, again, it gives you a little extras to fill in, but notice I am going to be looking for them in the grading. The topic is over here, notes, summary at the bottom. Here's another one, same thing. Says key points, but that's where your topic, that's where your heading goes. Notes over on the right, summary at the bottom. It's kind of an upside down T if you think about it a little bit. And then it also has name, grade, and you don't have to worry about period, but name, grade, you can do CRN there. So if you want to go old school and go by hand, you're welcome to print these pages off, pick any template you want from Google or wherever else you find it. You can print it off and then write them in by hand, take your pictures, upload to Moodle if you want to do it by hand. Or you can use my electronic template. I am fine either way. The key thing for grading on the Cornell style notes, you have to have all of the elements that I'm going to be looking for within that page. So let me bounce back really quick. I'm going to be able to save that page. Here we go. So if you look at this checklist, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to bounce back and forth and show you. So what are you looking for? Okay, format includes title, page number, name, and date. So that means I'm looking for that on every page. So let's look at the template. If I use that template, is there a place for all of that information? Someplace, like it gives me name, it gives me date, but it doesn't give me a slot. But you can just write the title of the chapter that you're working on anywhere at the top. You don't need a line for that, but I need to see that information on every page. Proper keywords, questions, and appropriate section. And then what I'm referring to is on the left. These are your big ideas, topics, or headings. You can also turn them into questions. Again, if I use that template right there, absolutely on the left, that's where my topics are going to go. So if I'm going to model this, I'm going to draw up here. Hopefully my marker works. Let's pretend this is my page, okay? Somewhere, according to my criteria, so I'm just going to go through and model this one after the other here. Let me stop share because then the camera will actually be up on the board. And let me pop open our checklist. So I have to have title, page number, name, and date. So here's my page. Somewhere I gotta have title, so whatever the title is of the chapter you're working on, I need my name somewhere, I need the date somewhere, and then I need the page number that I'm taking notes on somewhere as well. Now keep in mind, you might be taking notes on more than one page, but as a general rule, you know, it's a page or two toward one page of the textbook. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to say this is page 8 that I'm working on from my chapter text, okay? So then what's the next thing that I'm looking for? Contains proper keywords, questions, topic, and appropriate section. That's this section here on the left. These are things like your heading. What is the name of your heading there? So pick the first one. And then over on the right, what are the details I need to know about that I would have to study for a test? So whatever it is that you're going to write, remember, it's just note form. You're not doing full sentences. And then maybe or maybe not, I have enough room. I'm like, wow, okay, I could get one more topic there. So I'll do another heading. And again, maybe I have some notes on, okay, this is what I would study for a test. I need to know that about this heading. Then down at the bottom of every single page, you have to summarize what you wrote in notes in complete sentence format and in your own words. So in your own words, You have to write complete sentences, a minimum of 2 to 4 in that summary section. In your own words, complete sentences. This is just note taking. This is just notes, whatever. Don't worry about capitals, any of that kind of nonsense. These are your headings or your major topics, or you can turn them into questions. Here's where you have to write complete sentences. You do that for every single page. Every page has to look like that. So when you're doing this, you want to do it on 5 consecutive pages. That means 5 pages in a row. Don't just randomly pick pages in a chapter. Go 5 in a row. The last thing is number of pages are appropriate to content. I'll be honest with you, this is going to be, did you give me 5 full pages or you didn't give me 5 full pages? This is applicable if, for example, if you have a biology textbook and you're taking notes in a biology chapter, let's just randomly say chapter 3. Biology content is very heavy, which means it's very dense, lots of information on the page. Chances are you would have a minimum of 2 to 3 pages for every page you have to read in that chapter. My textbook for this course, it's not as dense. What do you notice about mine? There's a lot more activities. Content is smaller. It's highly likely you may be able to get 1 to 2 pages on every for content. The deeper the content, the more notes you would have. And so if I was looking at your notes for a biology chapter and the chapter was 20 pages long, the minimum I would expect to have would be 40. Because that's what it's going to take. Remember, you got white space. I mean, people always wig out when I say number of pages. But you got a lot of white space and you're not writing whole things, right? Okay, let's go back to sharing my screen. If I can. Here we go. Enough of looking at me. Let's go back to sharing our screen. So this is the Cornell Notes assignment. It is in week 4. One more time, just to review, 5 pages. You are welcome to do this old school, which means writing by hand, take pictures, upload on Moodle, or you can use the electronic template and typey type, and then upload on Moodle. Wherever your comfort level is, that will be acceptable for submission on this assignment. So far, so good. Okay, the second thing you need to do this week. It's a continuation. Remember last week I assigned you to read chapter 8? I'm assigning you to read chapter 8 in a few pages of chapter 9. And then I want you to primarily write your reflection forum. This is a discussion forum on PSR. What I want you to do is I want you to apply PSR and then tell me about the process. Tell me what you did. So for your discussion post this week, I want you to apply the PSR to a textbook chapter from another class or one of our chapters. My only caveat or my only requirement here, you're not allowed to do it on chapter 8. You're not allowed to do it on the PSR chapter itself. Pick another chapter, okay? Hint, I think I drop a hint in there. If I don't, benefit of paying attention to the video or coming to class, you are gonna have a test on chapter 1, making brain connections, pretty quick. That'll be our next round. So, hey, that might be a good chapter for you to apply PSR to, okay? So you're going to use a textbook chapter from a class or from our class, and you're going to apply the preview, study, read, review process, PSR. After you've applied the process, you've gone through all the steps, all that kind of stuff, you're going to write a 100 to 200 word reflection in which you describe what you did and then reflect how it worked for you. So reflection means it's your thoughts. How did it work for you? A reflection is an informal piece of writing, and literally you're reflecting on something you did. It is personal. There's no right or wrong answers, but it can be complete or incomplete. So don't be worried about, are you saying the right thing to make me happy, as much as you're being truthful and really reflecting on the process, what you did. Did it work for you? How did it work? Those kinds of things. What do you talk about? Describe what you did, how the PSR process worked for you. Make sure you address each step, step 1, 2, and 3 of the process. And then at the end, be sure to compare how PSR compares to how you used to do things before that. So you're doing PSR in this chapter. I want your thoughts on how it compares to what you would usually do when you have to get assigned to read a chapter. Okay? Here's what you have to have in every post. Name of the textbook you did it on, name of the chapter you did it on, a description of the process that you employed, a description of how each process of the step worked. What did it accomplish? What did you feel about it? What did you notice? What was going on in your brain? And then just a conclusion that compares this way of doing it to what you used to do. That's your posting. After you do your posting, you got to go in and reply to somebody else's post. In the reply, you must comment on what they've written and compare it to your experience. So you're commenting in comparison to how you did it. And then you also have to pose a question to them in some way, shape, or form about what they wrote. So discussion, you're posting. You got to do the PSR first with the chapter of your choice. Then you're posting, essentially you're telling me what you did. And then you're comparing, how did that work compared to what you used to do? Or your normal process of it, of reading a chapter. You're going to write about it, describing all that. And then after you're done and you posted, you got to go in and reply to somebody else, compare your experience to what they wrote, and pose a question to them. That is your discussion for this week. Please note I said 100 to 200 word reflection. In discussion, I am less formal than if you do a written submission, but I do expect you to engage in the highest level of writing that you are able to. So make an effort at spelling, capitals. I want you to write in complete sentences, all that kind of stuff. Does it have to be publishing ready? No, but I don't want to make people have to decipher what you're saying. So that's why I say do the best that you can there. Questions on discussion forum. So you have 2 things I want you to do this week. Set of Cornell style notes, publish in discussion after you apply PSR. Good, bad, ugly? Do you have questions on Cornell style notes? If you have questions on it or you need a review, there are 2 videos. The first one is literally Cornell style taking note video. It talks through it and models some things and the purpose behind it. The other one is me giving a lecture from a PowerPoint that I have done for years. I used to run workshops and I talk you through this particular PowerPoint. It gives you information on, you know, why should you take notes? Why is it better to do it by hand versus typing? All of those kinds of things. The science behind it. I talk about the science behind this. As in past, if you take a look at that PSR reflection forum grade, it looks like you have 3 things. You do not. That's just a placeholder for me to post the grade on your discussion forum. If you go in and look at that, it'll say, ignore this. This is a placeholder. So don't think you have 3 things. You only have 2 this week. Both are due Sunday by midnight, 1 minute to midnight, just like normal. Questions or concerns before I stop recording? Okay, I'm going to stop recording.